Hello, family. Hello to Los Hive. Welcome to the first call of February, where we're talking about fathering and mothering the self to break the cycle of repeated woundedness or fatherlessness and motherlessness. And tonight we have Eli Quesada joining us and sharing with us his wisdom, his journey on fathering himself, and the things that he's learned in the past few years in nourishing and building habits and practices around building characteristics in himself to be the father he desires to be to his offspring one day. Eli, how's it going?
Hello, hello. It is going very, very well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. Um, Whenever, do we want to wait for some people to come in or do you want to start now?
We could just start now because I'm already recording. So we can start now and the recording will be live for everyone to re-listen when they're ready.
Okay. So for the recording, I know everybody knows me so far. Um, my name is Eli Quesada. I'm a member here at Telos Hive, and I've been on a little quest this past month of fathering myself, right? So you hear the term fathering, which is obviously being a father. Maybe you're a father to a child. You either discipline, teach a child, teach him things, provide him wisdom, give him advice. But then the yourself part adds a little twist to it, which is, you're fathering yourself, right? You're your own parent. Um, there's some times when people they grow up without a father. I know we're going to talk about mothering yourself for the next call, but a lot of the times there are some things that you wish your father had taught you. Maybe it was a soft skill, maybe woodworking or a sport or a certain way of communication, maybe being a better communicator, being better with talking to people, things like that. Um, so I'm gonna start out. Just wanted to give you a background on what the term father yourself referred to. So it's safe to say that fathers have been the running joke in American culture. Hollywood movies portray them as this out of place object that's simply in the way.
Mm.
The term deadbeat dad emerged in the American English lexicon in the early 1970s due to a rise in fatherless homes. Nowadays, it's rather normal to have a father present in your life. It's not, it's rather normal to not have a father present in your life. Perhaps you're asking yourself, what's the big deal with fathers anyway? I didn't grow up with a dad, and here I am still standing. Maybe you were one of those who were lucky to have uncles or mentors around to supplement the lack of male energy. But to those who weren't so blessed, let me provide you some statistics. According to the National Center for Fathering and the Fatherless Generation, 85% of youths in prison come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. Nearly 25 million children live without their biological father. 60% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. Now, those are some frightening statistics. Why is that the case? How can fatherless homes cause so much pain, suffering, and anguish in the home? Ever heard of the saying, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times? One can definitely microscale this to the nuclear family unit. First, let's understand what has happened with the idea of fatherhood. I've picked up this new book recently titled Fatherless America by David Blankenhorn. In this book, he demonstrates that whether our concern is with teenage pregnancy, crime, violence, violence against women, educational failure, or child poverty, no social trend of our generation is more dangerous than fatherlessness. Let's dive into how men were viewed in traditional societies. Traditionally, it was thought that the way to socialize male energy toward responsibility was to link men to the lives of their children and the mothers of their children through marriage, making marriage and fatherhood inseparable and creating stable families. This underscores the idea that marriage and children were culturally a package deal, a social structure that bond fathers to their children. Today, you see the idea of marriage becoming obsolete. People in our generation are either treating marriage like a fun thing to do or I love him so much, let's get married without talking about XYZ. Something they are delaying to their mid 40s to focus on their career or something that is no longer required. Just scroll for 5 seconds on Instagram, and you will immediately understand why marriage is no longer treated with valor. Instagram models cheap entertainment, red pill mentality on the idea that women in any major city are not worth the man's time and instead needs to behave himself like a Chinese emperor
Mm.
with 1,000 concubines.
Wow.
In essence, the male energy has been scattered. Fatherhood has been scattered. Blankenhorn says it best. Imagine something big made out of glass called fatherhood. First, imagine it slowly shrinking. Then, imagine it suddenly shattering into pieces. Now look around. Try to identify the shards. Over here is marriage. Over there is procreation. Over there, manhood. Over
Mm.
there, parenthood. Here, rights, there, responsibilities. In this direction, what's best for me. In that direction, what's best for my child. Traditionally, being a father meant all of these things at once, hence a package deal. Being married to the child's mother, living with and raising your children, providing material and emotional, providing materially and emotionally, exercising authority and accepting responsibility, orienting your life toward your child's well-being, not just your own desires.
Mm.
And I want to stop here. There's actually a really good movie I want to recommend. But I think, there's a lot of movies you see where, a father, like a man has a child and, there's this dream that he has yet to attain. And he either expresses that anger, that bitterness towards his family, his children, or he succumbs to like alcohol, drugs, or something because he's so hell bent on like his desire rather than like his child well-being or his family's. Um, there's actually a good movie called Better Man. I just watched it 2 months ago. It's about a very well-known British singer. His name is Robin Williams. Robbie Williams, not Robin Williams. Robbie Williams. Uh, and if you watch that movie, you can see there's a lot of a huge emphasis on that father wound, the theme of fatherhood. And in the movie, basically, his father leaves him when he's like 6 or 7 to like chase his dream of being a comedian. And his entire life, he has plethora of issues just because of this wound he has yet to heal. Because his father's always like,
Mm.
it's crazy. I recommend y'all watch that movie. Um, so today, fatherhood has become shattered pieces. And I'm going to break it down with first marriage. Rather than an institution that bond fathers with their children, it is now seen as optional. Procreation. Procreation has lost its significance. Men no longer see procreation as something with a consequence. After they knock up a girl, then they feel that they have the options to either leave, stay, or abandon the kid. Manhood used to be defined as responsibility, providing, protecting, and serving others. Now, manhood is framed as freedom, self-expression, independence, and personal success. Parenthood has now been something that can be outsourced. So, there's actually a saying I heard a while back. Anybody can be a dad, but not every man can be a father. So, you can knock up a girl or get your girlfriend, wife pregnant, but it takes one thing to do that, but another thing to actually be a father and raise a child for 18 plus years. Rights. visitation rights, child support, personal autonomy rather than obligation, right? So rather than being obliged in the marriage to stay with the family, that has been optional to where actually, we divorced, so I could just come over the weekends. The way we connect is go to a movie and eat popcorn and then we just sit there and then that's it. Or, I already pay my child support, so that's enough father duties for the day. I don't have to do anything else. Let me focus on my own personal autonomy, which ties into responsibilities, daily presence, and discipline are ignored altogether. So, what do we do with all this information? Our most sacred institutions have been perverted and cheapified. Like
Mm.
most, if not all, things start with looking inward. Look within yourself. Observe how your nervous system operates against authority, women, and men.
Wow.
What's the what's the health of your internal world? Is it chaotic, wild, undisciplined? Us men have lost the yearning for action and taking responsibility.
Mm.
Our our essence and qualities have been outsourced to hypermasculine women, DoorDash, Take Five oil change, IKEA, porn, etc. Our role in the world has been gradually slipping away. According to Forbes, in recent years, women have consistently outnumbered men in U.S. college enrollment. For example, women comprised about 58% of all college students in 2020. For the first time in U.S. history, women now represent more than half of the labor force with at least a bachelor's degree.
Mm.
It's amazing that women have progressed this far and are achieving things that they couldn't otherwise 50 years ago. But what about our young men? Why are we falling behind? Why are we replacing college with gig economy jobs and video games? I have a very simple yet radical solution to this problem. I call it take some damn action or fathering yourself. Reclaim your manhood. How, you might ask? Well, there are a plethora of ways to do it. First, breathe in, breathe out. Breath work is one of the best ways to regulate your nervous system.
Wow.
Next, find some other men you can call a friend. Not any regular Joe, but someone who is dedicated to improving their lives for themselves and their family. Once you've done that, find another one, then another one, then another one, until you form your own community. A community of hard men, as David Goggins puts it. Men need other men. Loneliness is a slow killer for men. In fact, it's one of the main causes of male suicide. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, in 2023, the suicide rate for males was nearly 4 times higher than for females. The Journal of Public Health and Emergency reported that from 2017 to 2021, among youth ages 10 to 24 who died by suicide, about 79% were male, and the percentage of male suicide deaths increases with age in that range. Another thing I would love to recommend is to connect with a church or spiritual community, somewhere that you can relate to and be in touch with your Heavenly Father.
Mm.
Join a men's group, join a men's Bible group, attend it every week, be intentional, open with them, do fun activities with them. You see, I'm sure some people in this call are a part of these groups, but a lot of these men do outings where they do um, go to farms, go shooting ranges, go to coffee shops and talk, connect with one another. These things will further entrench you into a brotherhood that you were perhaps lacking growing up, right? If you didn't have a father or your father was emotionally unavailable, the father doesn't have to just leave the home. He can also leave emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah.
Um, so those are definitely tie yourself to community and tie yourself to men that you can call brothers. That is, if not the most important thing a man can do, like right now. Um, Also get close to God, right? Part of church and spiritual community is getting close to God, getting close to the one who created you, understanding who you are, who, what's your identity, like who you are, what's your identity, what's your mission, what's your purpose, right? Getting on closer to answering those questions are very, very crucial. Some other things are learning hard skills. Perhaps you're okay, your father didn't teach you how to change your oil or change your tires or fix your brakes. So rather than outsourcing the problem or outsourcing the blame, like, oh, my father didn't do this, my father didn't do that, just take it upon yourself to learn those skills yourself. You know, we have Daddy Internet. Daddy Internet saves you a lot of time. It you can search up anything. You can literally build a house if you wanted to with the internet, right? Um, so definitely utilize the resources that you have. Um, and then with the internet or with learning a skill, I'm sure you're bound to find somebody. If you already follow step one of forming a community, then you can tap into that community and see if anybody has done what you're trying to accomplish. It's
Mm,
like you want to change your oil, maybe somebody in that group is a mechanic and they can help you and they can teach you.
mm,
Um, so like for me, what I'm doing like is learning how what I've been doing this past year or two is learning how to fix my car, right? So anytime there's a problem in my car, I'm blessed in a way that my car is very old. So it's very easy to access a lot of like the areas where I need to fix, or it's not like, you know, a computer where it's like very complicated and mechanic needs to touch it. I'm able to just go on YouTube, search things up, super easy, you know, find the parts very cheap. I have a Toyota, so it's very cheap to fix. Um, so, you know, I've been doing that. Like I fixed my ball joints, tie rods, changed my, now I know how to change my oil. I know how to change my tire, all these things, you know. Just doing hard things is the biggest thing that a man needs to do, right? Because that is what men are lacking now is pursuing those hard tasks or having the desire to do it and seeing things through. Um, because things have been made so easy for us, you know, like you really don't have to leave the home. You can just stay home. Literally, you can work from home, get your groceries delivered to you. You can attend church online. You
mm.
don't have to see people. You can just FaceTime people. So like you really don't have to do anything. You just stay home all day, right? But that's not how humans are meant to live, right? That's not how we were meant
Yeah.
to function. We're meant to be in community with people, whether men or women. We are meant to be in communion.
Wow. Wow.
Um, you know, if there's anything regarding, you know, outside of hard skills, also just reading, like learn, increase your intelligence, take a course, learn a skill, learn a profitable skill. Um, you know, again, these are things that maybe you didn't have a father or someone in your life that didn't push you to those things. Not sure. I mean, I wasn't pushed in a lot of areas, and you know, I'm facing the result now, having to push myself to better myself and increase my knowledge in certain areas. You know, we have YouTube, you have courses, Coursera, you have Udemy, all these things you can take courses to like increase your income, right? Start a business. How do you start a business? Go on YouTube, find people around you um, to support you and teach you. You know, some of the things they've done. I'm sure if you tap into any men group, you're bound to find men who are successful in business, successful in making money, successful in their careers and their families. You know, definitely want to tap into that. So to conclude, if we want to see fathers back in the home and a fatherful America,
Mm.
let's understand what got us here, where we are, and how we can move forward. Be an example to your community, your family, your friends, and your friends by taking on so that way your future son never has to experience the pain of not having a father.
Wow. Wow. That was so good.
Mhm.
I have a question. Well, okay.
Mhm.
So you mentioned nuclear family in the beginning, but really what this is leading back to is searching and healing, restoring that glass house that was broken within yourself. And what it
Mhm.
sounds like, the hypermasculinity that women are operating with in the world is because of the brokenness in men. And what you're calling forth
Mhm.
in reconnecting the father wound or healing the father wound is
Mhm.
calling a man to a higher frequency of becoming secure masculine so that he takes the torch
Mhm.
of masculinity out of the woman's hands because she's overcompensating in this day and age. And that's
Mhm.
statistically very
Right.
valid. It's valid. There's no denying it. But is that by design? So to restore the nuclear family, my question is what what led you to understand that that's something you need to address in your life?
Well, I mean, I'm someone who grew up in a broken home, right? I mean, grew up with a single mother, and usually when a boy, I mean, I'm gonna speak on the son perspective, on the male perspective,
Yeah.
but when a boy is raised in a single mother home, a lot of issues can happen, right? One thing is there's a power vacuum. There's a power vacuum within the role, the roles, right? Because the mother is now taking both the mother and the father roles. So now she's the breadwinner, and then she's also the one that has to caretake and like make sure the children are okay, and, has to fill that role. So the issue that comes with it is one, most of the time when women try to raise their sons, they want to raise their sons completely opposite of how their dad was, right? They want to make sure they do everything they can in raising their sons, not to make sure he does not turn out like his father, which is a good intent. There is good behind it, but it actually backfires on them because it raises a a pseudo man, a quasi man, right? Because he really doesn't have the the skills and kind of the pure integrated energy, male energy given to him from a healthy male role model, right? Because
Mhm.
women can't raise men. They
Mhm.
can't raise men, no matter how hard they try. They can't.
Yeah.
Usually, what happens is that power vacuum is filled um, through like a male coach in a kid's life. Maybe he's in a basketball team, a football team.
Mm.
It's filled through the coach or like, his community, he's going to tap into that team, right? Like a team in high school or middle school, or maybe it's like a pastor or like somebody that attends the church. Um, so it's very essential, if you're raised in a single mother household, that's very important you need to find a healthy man to fill that role. It can't be a mother, it can't be a woman, it can't be your sister.
Mhm.
Those things, take a negative effect in men. And later in life, they're gonna have issues with getting women, with their career, their business. They're not gonna have a strong foundation to securely fill the role whenever it's time for them to have a family, to have a son, a daughter. Um, these things it is very critical to fix that.
Yeah, that
Because if not, then you just
masculinity
repeating a
creates that
pattern.
healthy masculinity, secure masculinity creates that structure for you to actually operate a home at the highest level possible, where the woman can flourish in her strength.
Right, exactly. Right. Because I mean, when a woman's in her divine feminine, then she can fully be 100% in that role, not have to worry about filling another role that doesn't pertain to her.
Correct. Exactly.
You know,
So good.
so it's like, yeah, yeah.
You
I have
nailed
a
it.
question.
It's a very,
Yeah, go
uh-huh.
for it.
Okay, so earlier you had said, you know, if you grew up in a home where there wasn't a father figure, you obviously want that hole to be filled up
Mhm.
through maybe a coach, a mentor, pastor, whatever it
Mhm.
is. Obviously,
Mhm.
the Lord. Um, Out of curiosity, do you think that uh, that is realistic uh, to do that? Like, uh, long term. I don't know if that makes sense. The only reason why I say that is because in my mind, do you feel like, or I feel like you're putting your worth into a person, um, which I feel like could be dangerous because what if one day they, you know, they just don't have maybe the time to maybe mentor or coach you. Um, so I know that doesn't really make sense, but do you
No,
think that?
I understand the question. Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
do you,
So, okay. So it's not necessarily putting worth in a person. I mean, you know, it's those years, especially like, okay, I'm gonna put it like in contemporary schooling, right? Like, so middle school and high school. These are very critical years for like a boy growing up to have somebody. Because I mean, especially when like, yeah, we're both guys, right? So, when we're 13, 14, boys are either very rebellious and rambunctious or they're very like shut down or like to themselves. You try to pry things out of them, but they're just never gonna talk, right? Um, yes, mothers are important, they're critical roles, but the only person that's gonna understand a boy is a man who was a boy at once. Does that make sense? So is that necessarily putting worth in that person? Like, oh, if I don't have, um, like this coach is gonna save my boy's life. He's gonna change his entire life. It's not necessarily the case. It's just a tool. It's an asset for the boy, right? And those things, having that male circle is just so important, especially in those critical ages where you're still growing up. You're forming your ideas about the world. You're forming your ideologies, your viewpoints. It's just very, very important to have that. And men strive through competition, through building things, through that creative force, that energy to just create. And all these things are good, but they have to be done in a healthy manner, right? And if you leave a boy into his own devices, and something can happen where he uses it in the wrong way. He gets in a fight in school. He gets in trouble. He's going to be labeled bad kid. But you put like a healthy man, whether coach, teacher, uncle, or something there that is healthy and understands where the boy's coming from, or can better handle him because it's two masculine energies together, then to me it's going to be a different outcome for the boy.
yeah. And then I got here a little late, so maybe you had already said
Mm.
it. Um, but how did you, um, coming from the home that you came from, how did you recognize that you needed a mentor or a coach um, in your life? Just
Yeah.
because, like,
So I think
if
I'm
no
like
one
one
else
of
told you
those.
that, how
uh
did you like recognize that for yourself?
Yeah, I actually didn't recognize this up until I was uh, like 22, 23. So it's I'm 25 now, so it's fairly recent. Um, so I mean, I was navigating life. I navigated college without knowing a lot of this stuff, which I think that happens to a majority of guys that are are wanting to better themselves and understand like the wound they have, or that there was actually something happened when their father left the home or when their mother took in that role. But it was something because at least the guys I talk to and the guys I interact with and being around some guys myself, they've communicated, like a lot of them didn't recognize this till later in life. And once you recognize it, you can either just kind of ignore it or you choose to do something about it. You take in the work and you start learning materials and learning how uh, to follow yourself, right? Because I mean, it's like it's this thing you miss your entire life. Is like because my father was kind of he wasn't in the picture, but he would like come in and out, right? So like when you tip your toes in like the cold water to see if it's cold or if it's hot. That was my dad. He's like tipping a little bit. He's like, oh, it's too hot. And then he left, and then he comes back in. And so that was kind of how it is. So I think that might have been worse than a deadbeat dad, but um, yeah. So once you recognize that, for me, once I recognized it, a lot of things started connecting. A lot, like everything started connecting. It was like an awakening, like an epiphany for me. It was like everything makes sense. It's like this is why I'm acting this way. This is why I have these problems. This is why I can't do this or that. Why I'm not I can't, but why I'm not able to do this or that, or why I'm like so afraid of challenge, or I'm afraid of success, or why I'm afraid to like approach a woman at that time, and all these things. So once I realized all that, I was like, well. I can blame others. I can blame my dad, or I can blame my mom, or I can blame my family, or I can just pull up my big boy pants and do the work. It does not work that, it takes years and it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. It's work you have to dedicate yourself to, and I recommend a book. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and it talks a lot about this stuff. It's a very well-known book. It talks about something called the nice guy syndrome, which basically it's about when you put others before yourself, you know. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of guys who don't don't grow up with a father, don't have a father in the home because they haven't had that ritual, that moment where they've been ripped away from the mother, or they've been ripped away from boyhood when their boyhood, metaphorically, figuratively, has like been cut off and died. So there's like you see a lot of men that are very aggressive, they still act like children, they still act like boys, when they don't get what they want. Or you see a lot of men that repress, or they're very closed off because they just don't get what they want, because they just emotionally tie themselves to everything. Like they identify themselves with any situation or anything. Oh, like I didn't get a good grade, oh, I'm a failure. They identify themselves with the external outcome. And these are all part of a father wound and a mother wound. And I know next call will be about mothering yourself, but that the big essence of that is, your family dynamic, how you're raised, and how you perceived yourself, and your relationship with your father and your mother. Um, so yeah, so I mean it's very important, and I'm still learning. It's a lot I've been learning. Like I just picked up this book, Fatherless America. I've been wanting to read it for a couple years. Um, but yeah, still learning. Hope that answered your question. I kind of just went
I want to say something
on a rant.
about the like the note of you don't know if someone like what attaching yourself to somebody and not knowing if they're going to be there the next day, you know? I think there's a part of it that comes the reason you're reaching for a mentor is because you've taken ownership in the fact that I'm not a master in this. But at the end of the day, you're the one trying to become the master. It's not the master's responsibility to get you there, or that father's or that father figure's
Mm,
responsibility
right.
to get you to mastery level of masculinity. That's your responsibility. And then and especially like, yes, I think you guys as men and the age you guys are in a great position to be that role for a young teenager, but you guys are also in the position to like flip that switch and understand I own the behavior that I'm exhibiting into the world, and I'm the one who determines if this continues and it gets passed on to the next generation, because they don't learn from our words, they learn from our actions. So not only is the next generation or the people a few years younger than us learning from everything we do, not what we say, but we also have an opportunity in saying, even in adults, in the mentors that we choose, saying, I'm going to listen to this that they're saying, and I'm not going to listen to that. You know, we have our own discernment, our own moral compass. And I think that has an element of begin to exercise the muscle of masculinity. It's not just building a house with bricks. It's about a muscle. It's about agility, and becoming fluent in masculinity and femininity, and understanding how to balance those and be secure as a whole human. And that starts with ownership, but then it transitioned into discernment. When you can discern this is for me, this is not for me, then even if that person comes and goes, you at least stay secure. You know, you have a tether, you have your own security that you are working from. And then the danger doesn't lie there because you're not depending on the other person to be the security for you. You're building that in yourself.
Yeah, I think that's so good. And even I think, I love the word you guys use as tool, because these mentors or coaches or whoever it may be, they are tools in my walk, or whoever's walk to become a man. And it's not their responsibility. Ultimately, it is my responsibility.
Yes.
And I think, especially, for maybe men who came from homes where they don't really have the best father figure, it's hard for us to recognize that, because
Yeah.
we've been constantly like searching for it and searching for security and safety. when maybe that wasn't really the case growing up. But I think looking at it from that perspective, like, hey, these are tools, but it is at the end of the day your responsibility and no one else's.
Mhm.
Because if I'm
Yeah.
continuously searching for someone who's gonna fix or teach or show me how to do it, I'm not taking responsibility. I'm still relying on somebody else.
Correct.
Mm.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a strength in that. And then there's, yeah, definitely a danger in that. But then that's where the muscle of discernment comes in. And that is, I think, a testament that when you begin to exercise your discernment, is an indication to you that, oh my gosh, I'm leveling up. I'm moving forward in this skill, that I can know right from wrong or good from bad for myself, you know?
Mm.
What do you
Eli.
guys think? Oh,
Oh,
wait, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go.
sorry.
You go. I talk too much. Sorry, you guys.
You're good. I was just say, Eli, this is so good, and I wish like everyone could hear this. Like, I want men to be able, just like everywhere, to be like drawn to conversations like this. But um, I have two questions. One,
Mhm.
what has come up in your relationship with Gemma where you're like, oh wow, like I really am not showing up, and like
Mhm.
I'm operating out of like a father wound? And I mean, if these are too deep, you also don't have to answer.
Mhm.
And
No, you're good.
two, um, do you feel like you've arrived to a place where you're like, okay, I have healed from my father wound, or I'm continually on this journey where I have to realign myself and who I am, if that makes sense?
Mhm. Yeah. So the first question, I think how this has shown up, it has shown up. And I think one of the ones, the biggest way it has was through my mother, and my relationship with her. Um, and I think we both can relate, Evelina, with our parents, but I think me specifically because it's like a mother-son relationship, and my mom did not have that male figure, that the husband that took his place as a secure male in the household. So it was all of that. My mom had to operate both as a mother and a father. She had to operate the feminine and the masculine.
Mhm.
So, and then that throughout the years.
Oh no.